Hi everyone, welcome to Velocity Data Analytics Techniques training. So this training is going to be divided into parts. So the first part is knowing about the foundational knowledge of data analysis. So today we'll be talking about what is data analysis and what does data analyst do. So first question is, what is data analysis? It's just like your first economics class or your first class that you attend. So there's a desire to define the subject. One thing about data analysis is that there's no one size fits all definition for data analysis, meaning different people will give different definition. So, and one definition doesn't necessarily means that's a perfect definition, but it's just very important that you have an idea of what data analysis is. And most persons will have like, oh, this is what I think data analysis is. So, but according to our definition, data analysis is a process of making meaning with data, which can come with the goal of showing a phenomenon, refuting or buttressing a claim, or just for exploration. So basically, some of you must have probably done data analysis without being a data analyst or being a data expert. So it means if you can make sense of numbers, you go to the grocery store, you add up things, you have your income, you have expenditure, you do some addition, subtraction. So a data analyst or data analysis is a process of trying to make sense of like the data, the numbers that you have, either to show something, to say this thing doesn't exist, or to actually find something. Also, it also involves connecting the dots in information provided either in raw or processed form. So you can actually have and analyze data, and data analysis is also the process of trying to make sense of that information. So like I said, there's really no one size fits all definition of what data analysis is. So think of it as just trying to make sense with data, or some people would say trying to torture the data, or trying to just get value from the data that you have. So just to be more explicit, so the next thing that might come to mind is, what does a data analyst to do? So a data analyst is somebody who does data analysis. So it's like the noun of data analysis. So a data analyst is somebody who does data analysis. So some of you might hear the word like data analytics. So data analytics or data analysis is used interchangeably. It depends on the context of using verb or all of those words. So I'm not an English professional, but I'm sure that as you talk more, you would understand the context better. So as a data analyst, so a data analyst, more like other professionals in other fields, tackle problem and phenomenon by harnessing the power of data. So it's not just a data analyst that uses data. So different fields also use data. So what you are trying to do as a data analyst is you want to be a magician with the data in your hands. Also, a data analyst not only analyze data, but also does data collection, cleaning, reporting, and many others. So there are different processes that comes with you doing data analysis. So data analysis means what you would think of is, oh, I have the data ready. I want to show graphs. I want to show the tables. But most times in the ideal world, when you're working for an organization, the data might not be readily available. So you might actually have to collect the data yourself. So however, there are some persons who are specialists in data collection. So they probably call them data enumerators or different names. It depends on the organization you're working in. You might actually have more specific roles of what you're supposed to do, and you might be doing a lot of these things. But it's very important that you know that data analysts also clean the data, and the data cleaning is one of the most important part of your analysis process, and which actually takes more time. So you do not just analyze the data, it's also important that you report the data. You tell us, okay, what does this mean? Being a data analyst involves substantial critical thinking and can be referred to as a data detective, meaning someone who approach data with a probing mindset. One thing you want to do is, even with your soft skills or your hard skills as a data analyst, you have the graphs, you have the tables, you have the dashboard, everything looks really nice. So there's a part on your hand that you have to think critically. What does this mean? How can I provide solution to stakeholders? What does this mean to myself? So that is how you, as a data analyst, you have to be critical. And it's not just about, oh, I know how to use certain tools. There's a place of there's a way you perceive a data. So, and that's part of the things in the course of this series that you will be learning. A data analyst is a data expert. So what do I mean? So you are somebody who is an expert in the use of data. So there are other data experts field. Some of you must have heard about this data experts field. So we have data scientists, business analysts, research analysts, data engineers, machine learning engineers, data specialists, database administrator. They are more than this, but these are some of the more related like roles related to data analysis. And I'm going to like try to explain what some of these roles are, but not going to go into them explicitly. So let's say a data analyst or data analyst is basically trying to make sense of data. And one thing you want to know is that some of these roles, they overlap. A data scientist can also do the role of a data analyst. And when you look at job description, sometimes they will request for a data analyst. And in the real sense, what they require is somebody who will do a data scientist role and vice versa, like also other roles. So a data analyst or primarily is basically trying to do data exploration, data cleaning, data reporting. However, a data scientist is probably almost doing the same, but doing it with more programming skills, trying to ensure that the process is automated. So a data analyst might focus on using point and click tools, which we are going to talk about today in the next few slides. But a data scientist will think about how can I program this process so that I don't have to point and click every time I need to do this. So there's more collaboration for a data scientist. Another thing also is data scientists are more focused on predictive modeling. What do I mean by that? Meaning they try to use the data to predict into the future. So why a data analyst might think of what does the data mean now or what happened in the past, a data analyst will probably think further, a data scientist will probably think further about how can we use this data or what does this data mean in the future. So a business analyst most really would not heavily use data. A business analyst in the real sense would basically think about how they can lead the project or get things done. But if you want to be an effective business analyst, you also have to use the data. So they might not have so much of technical skills with data compared to a data scientist or a data analyst, but they have to understand how they interpret data. A research analyst um, is someone who thinks about data from a research perspective. So they think critically about questions that you answer. They don't just think about, oh, is this going to solve the problem? They think about, is this the best approach? While a data analyst might think about, let's find the better approach to solving a problem. A research analyst would think about, theoretically, does this thing make sense? So if, for example, a data analyst can think about, okay, if we actually buy people, like let's say ice cream, they will buy our product more. A research analyst would think about, does this make sense for us to actually do it, even though the data is showing us? So research analysts are more of people in the academia, and they think about data critically than a data scientist or a data analyst would do. So everyone have different perspective on how they think about the data. Data engineers are more like software engineers for data. So they try to see how they can get the data from the cloud to ensure that, oh, this is like it's faster. So they supply the data to the data scientist or the data analyst. So that is why if you're working for an organization that is big or large and they do not have a data engineer, as a data scientist or as a data analyst, you probably be frustrated. So machine learning engineer is basically almost related to data engineers. So most of these machine learning engineers are the ones that are in charge of the AIs that we do. So if you've probably heard of ChatGPT, being on all of those AI platforms, they feed them with data based on like what people do or how people will respond. So there's something called NLP, so natural language processing. So the way we speak, the way we talk, they've trained AI, or they trained the software to be able to predict. So that is why if you type something long enough on your device, so there's a modeling, there's something going on behind the scene that sort of predicts what you are going to type next, even though that word is not an English word or is not a word that is in a dictionary. So also the next one is a data specialist. So just think about this. This is another name, another company might think of, oh, I'm looking for a data analyst. I want a data specialist. Why database administrator is somebody who probably think about a company who has a very large data set and trying to ensure data properly sorted, and that's all. So why do we need to care about other data experts? So it's very important that you know about other data experts as a data analyst, because you don't just want to be narrow-minded. You don't want somebody to come think of, oh, I'm a data analyst, or why you not this? So, and this is also an indication of roles you can transition to from being a data analyst. So if you think about how can I earn more? So these other roles, they are probably a little bit more difficult or less difficult. You can think of upskilling. So these are potential roles that you can transition to. But for the purpose of this training, we'll be focusing more from a data analyst perspective, and to an extent from a data scientist perspective. So importance of data in our world, why do we need to have data analysts, or what's the importance of data in our world? So data is everywhere. So these words that I'm saying, it's also like data. The fact that we count people in a meeting, the fact that we think about, oh, I have to attend the meeting at a certain time, you have to remind yourself. So indirectly or directly, everyone uses data. If you have a wristwatch that monitors your heart rate or monitors the number of walks you've done in a day, so that's, you are using data. So data is everywhere, and data analytics is an interdisciplinary field, meaning every field, no matter the field you are coming from, if you want to transition into data analytics, you can use data in your field. Think of engineering, think of sports. So they are using data in sports. That's how they're able to know all of this VAR for those who knows about sports. So your data can be used in any field. So think about, just like if you gain admission into college, they tell you, oh, this course you can actually work anywhere. Data analytics is one of those courses that you can actually work anywhere. Data can be applied to any context, just to buttress the fact that it's an disciplinary field. Data is the major driving force for AI development. Without data, there's no AI. Just that people who are using um, data in the AI space are probably data engineers. So they have more programming skills, they could automate things, and they are using data for that. Also, data saves lives. I mean, you could think about it saves money, it saves lives. So think about you being a data analyst, and you could potentially be saving the life of someone. So data allows one predict what the future might look like. So this is, in a more technical term, this is called extrapolation, and we'll talk about this in the course of the series. It's basically trying to take a key of what has happened in the past to predict what would happen in the future. So there's a trend. You notice in the last 5 years, this is the flow of the economy. So we can predict that if these certain things also happen, this is also what we would expect in the future. So it's the same way people would predict about it's going to rain today, it's not going to rain today. So they are using the data to think about what were the things that were happening around the cloud that made it rain, that would give you the probability that it's going to rain tomorrow or next week. So I would say that anyone not interested in data is not interested in themselves. So think about um if you don't care about data. So you don't have to be a data analyst to care about data, but you have to care about data if you want to be interested in yourself. And interestingly, so this data analysis is one of the easy tech field you can transition to. I mean, compared to software engineering, that would take you like a lot more time, or a lot more technical training. So I think data analysis, business analysis is one of those in a way relatively easier fields you can transition to if you quickly want to get into tech and get the tech money. Practical examples of how data is applied. So individually, when planning your budget for the month or prioritizing what you want to purchase. Also, a company decides to stop um, marketing a particular product because sales did not increase. So that is also something that you could look at. So government yearly budgets for every sector. So the point is the fact that every field is using data. Every field would use data individually, organization, or the government. Data analysts, this is tools and how they are used. And I think at this point, you probably want to pay more attention. So we are going to divide this into groups. So we have group A, point and click tools. Basically, point and click tools are tools you use for data analysis that you have to click something and click and click and click and click for you to get your results. So one of those tools is Excel. So Excel is not primarily or only for data analysis. In fact, I wasn't sure why they created Excel, but I'm sure the primary reasons for creating Excel, that's Microsoft Excel, is not for data analysis, but people have over time used Excel for data analysis. And it's arguably an easy data analytics to start with because you are not learning programming and learning data analysis techniques at the same time. You just have to know where to click and you just have to understand the data analysis process. So I kind of refer to it as a jack of all trade tools. It's a tool that could do different things for accountants, for engineers, for different fields. But as a data analyst, they're just like some tabs you'll be working with in Excel. So it's one of the tools that is like really widely used. There are a lot of even there are companies who still use Excel. I mean, big companies, I mean, Fortune 500 companies that still use Excel because of the flexibility that comes with Excel. And the reason why Excel would not go outdated is because um, most times as a data analyst, you want to think about what tool is the best to use in a particular moment. There are some times where the programming tools is not the best because what you want to do is just very simple and you don't have the time to write some lines of code. So you just want something that could do something quick and dirty. So the next one is Power BI. Power BI is more advanced than Excel. So Power BI is also from the same company, Microsoft. So Power BI is good for creating fancier data visualization. So I think after people started using Excel more, Microsoft thought about, can we create something that is specifically for data analysts? So Power BI was created, which is more advanced. You could create more fancy things. Arguably, almost everything a data analyst can do with Excel, you can probably do them with Power BI. People, when they learn Excel and they learn Power BI, they leave Excel and say, no, I'm not going to use Excel because Power BI just makes things a little more fancier, it looks better, but it's also more difficult to learn Power BI compared to Excel. So the order of learning would be best you want to learn Excel, you also want to learn Power BI. The next one is Tableau. Tableau is similar to Power BI, but owned by a different company. So it's more like you want to take like I mean they are like just this or that. So they do almost the same thing. XPSS is used more in the academia. Most college students will probably use this for their final year projects or their thesis. So like I said, these tools are the point and click tools, and these point and click tools, they are not limited to Excel, Power BI, Tableau, XPSS. They are more point and click tools, but these tools that I mentioned are the tools that are widely used, or you must have heard about them. So another group is the coding tools. The coding tools, so when you hear coding, most time people think about when you watch a movie and somebody's trying to hack a website and the person is typing for hours and the person is looking at multiple screens. That is not how coding works in the real sense. Coding is not like that. Um, as a data analyst, you probably have to have some level of coding skills. So the group A and the group B, there are some things you can do with there are some projects you can work on solely that all you need is just the tools in group A, and you don't need the tools in group B, that is the coding tools. However, if you really want to earn more, you want to learn more, right? So SQL is one of like the popular languages to learn. So these coding tools, they are called languages. So this is, I speak SQL, I speak R, I speak Python, I speak Stata. So that's how they are called. So you want to know how to communicate as a data expert or as a data analyst. So SQL is used for database management, particularly suitable for very large data sets. Where you would find this more useful is if you're working for an organization that has a very large data set. A startup might not start working with SQL. So you have data for different products, for different departments, and you don't just want to keep them on your laptop, on your device. So SQL is more like keeping the data more organized, so such that if I want to run an analysis, I don't have to, in a way, run all the data. So with SQL language, I can just call the language like the data I want. So I just want this particular role in this data and I want to join them together. So that is how SQL is useful. Um, SQL is arguably one of the easiest programming language to learn, because the way SQL programming works is more like the way you speak to people. So it's more like select A from B, divide. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, one of the easiest programming language to learn. Um, the next one is R. So it's a more advanced tool for data analysis and data cleaning. So that's like one of the things you want to know. And also the next one is Python. Python is an alternative to R, but probably a little bit advanced. So Python is like the Excel of programming language. What do I mean? So Python is basically used by different um tech fields. So software engineer will use Python, probably cloud computers will use Python, but a data analyst can also use Python for data analysis, which can do some more sophisticated thing than R would do. But R is more like focused for data analysts. So the next one is Stata. Stata is similar to R, but used more in the academia. Except you're looking for a job in academia, that's when you want to really focus on learning Stata. So like I said, this group B are coding tools. Um, so at this point, you probably might be feeling overwhelmed on, oh, what do I have to do? You've said a lot of skills we need to learn, and we don't have the time. So here's a plan. So learn the basics of statistics for data analysis. When you probably learn the basics, learn Excel for data analysis. Make a choice between Power BI or Tableau, but I would say you should learn Power BI if you probably don't have much time in your hands, or you could just learn both. And the reason why I would probably say Power BI is when you look at the data around organizations that are using Power BI or Tableau, most organizations are using Power BI compared to Tableau. But if you know how to use Power BI and the organization really requires you to use Tableau, it's something you could, I mean, quickly learn in very few days or weeks. While you learning Power BI, try to work on projects. The best way to learn data analysis is to practice, to see what others are doing, how they are interpreting or writing their codes or trying to do the analysis. The next thing you want to do is probably learn SQL. If you stop at SQL, you'll probably be good with a couple of jobs that will pay you like good. So learn SQL, because most organizations lately have been asking for SQL. If you really want to go further, then you can decide between R or Python. But like I said, since Python is R is easier compared to Python, you could learn R, work on more projects, learn Python, and you keep learning. I think those are like, at least that's a plan. So one thing you want to remember is that this is like a journey, and a journey with thousand miles start with a step. The expert that you hear about in the data field, they were once a novice. So you don't want to feel overwhelmed. You just have to have a clear path of, this is how, or this is what I want to learn. And you want to be curious and set goals for yourself. And you need to remind yourself that you can do this. So there's just two persons you need to motivate for yourself if you really want to get into the data field. That is yourself and the person who is going to believe in you, either your employer or somebody who is going to give you the job. So this is the first part of this series. So we're going to be talking about more in the subsequent videos to be able to get more value and also not miss out. Please do well to turn your notification bell for YouTube channel. Also subscribe and share to your friends. And you could follow us on our social media platform on LinkedIn, Instagram, on Twitter at VelontiVT. Thank you for watching.